Well, hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So it appears that Kabam is up to their regular tricks once again, and I am certain that quite a few people will not be all too happy with Kabam. And it's gonna be for two reasons. So before we get into those two nice reasons, let's discuss what has happened. Effectively, I think this forum post kind of puts it together the best. Yeah, hold on, this is real. They totally did change Daunted's interaction with protection, just tested it. Used to be able to plow through Deathless Thanos protection using Onslaught's Daunted, now he's shut out. For those uninitiated, Daunted used to stack additively with protection effects, rather than being a separate multiplier. For example, say opponent has 90% protection, but 50% total Daunted potency. Instead of 100% damage base minus 90% protection equals 10% damage taken. And then Daunted multiplies that by 1.5 to 15% during specials, which is still very bad damage, and that is the way it works now. It was 100% base damage minus 90% protection plus 50% Daunted equals 60% of the damage during special attacks with the protection up. So, obviously, the numbers exactly vary there, but basically, protection now works drastically better against Daunted, and that means that, champions like Thing, champions like Thanos, a handful of other champions, and Kabam's kind of like adding the protection with the nodes, for instance, you were able to largely kind of bypass protection from Ebb and Flow Intercept or Ebb and Flow Knockdown with the Daunted effect, and those are like very common nodes. And obviously we have like a ton of protection nodes really these days. Why wasn't this in the patch notes? This is a fairly big change. Onslaught and other Daunted champions really benefited from this mechanic. If this was going to get changed, it should have been communicated. Besides Deathless Thanos, I used this mechanic to beat down destroyers in war and on the protection intercept node, since Onslaught largely didn't care. Exactly. And there's tons of different interactions. So exactly the two reasons to get pissed off. Number one, there was zero communication, and there still has been zero communication, because this change went live at some point after the new patch. So it wasn't even that the change came with the new patch. It was that new patch came live and then somebody changed it afterwards. So obviously somebody was in the know that the change is being made, and perhaps they hoped people wouldn't notice, but that is just such a scummy thing to do yet again. Again, like, whenever you give Kabam a choice of what to do or how to do things, they will always pick the most disgusting and worst way to do it. If there's a chance to do something properly or something in a very shitty manner, they're going to choose the shitty manner. Even, take a look at the Coliseum. What are the worst things about Alliance Coliseum? Is the fact that you have the grand podiums, but you can buy, like, again, the entire thing is kind of like undermined with the idea that you can just buy Coliseum levels and, you're gonna be a cool dude. Previously, when the Battlegrounds came, the worst way was to monetize their participation with the Elders marks, and it's like, hey, you could place highly in these events, but you have to pay for it. Similarly with, we all needed new relics, but again, I think Kabam chose like just about the worst way to do it. They released like so many relics that nobody can keep a track on them properly. They brought in brand new crystals, and it's such a theme with them. And with stuff like this as well. It could have been a change that could have been, discussed and kind of properly communicated players so they can get their head around it. And then, the reception of it could have, at the very least, be a lot more mild than it is right now. Because right now, regardless of the way you look at it, Kabam are a bunch of dicks. Like, they can suck a full bag of fat ones. Because it's just scummy. It's the scummiest possible way to do something. They effectively nerfed a whole bunch of champions on the down low, and now people have noticed, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, Daunted was never meant to work this way, or some shit like that. Like, why do that? And then they are surprised when people, like, have largely negative perception of them. This is the type of situation and reason why people have issue with not only what Kabam does, but how they do it in the personalities involved. Because they think, they can do whatever, however, and everybody has to smile and wave at them. It's like, yeah, that's perfectly cool. No, it isn't. It really is not. Right. Besides that point, so what are the champions affected? We obviously have Onslaught. On top of that, we do have Jean Grey, because she works on Daunted. We have Cassandra Nova. We do have Gentle. We even have DPX, that also has Daunted. And I'm sure somebody else that also does that I'm kind of blanking out on, but two best mutants got kind of nerfed. Definitely 4 out of top 10 mutants. 5 out of top 10 mutants got nerfed. Because again, it isn't just a matter of Thanos or Thing. It is a matter of ebb and flow protection, ebb and flow intercept. It's a matter of all of the other protection nodes that we face in AQ or wherever, because there's a ton of them. We do have these protections that, you know, go on cooldown, knockdown protection. We do have the protections that goes on cooldown after opponent uses a special attack. We have protections that opponents activate when they reach 2 bars of power. We have protections that they activate when we reach 2 bars of power. There's a crap ton of protection nodes around the game. And all of, like, half of the best mutants just got significantly nerfed against all of them. So, it obviously affects more than just Onslaught and Jean Grey. But it definitely affects these guys a lot too. And that leads me to the second point. So the first point was about a bunch of scumbags for just doing it on the down low and quietly. Second point is, why? Like, Onslaught has been in the game for how long? Onslaught has been... What year was Onslaught released? Let's just double check. Was it 2024? I think it was 2024. 2025? 2023? Which year is Onslaught? 2023? 2023! You mother flippers! So this entire thing has worked one way for 3 years. And all of a sudden they're just like, nah, fam. It was bugged, or it was wrong, or fuck you anyways for doing it. Pick whichever one you want. And I'm sure that Onslaught isn't like the first Daunted champion that we have had. Have we had some before? I mean, Onslaught's probably one of the first, but I'm sure there was like Daunted in game before that. Need to double check. Let's take a look at the mutants. Okay, fine. Maybe he was the first one. Still, 3 years. 3 years he was functioning perfectly. Nowhere in these 3 years it was listed as a bug or unintended interaction or any of that shit. And again, like, you wonder why people have trust issues with this company. So for 3 years, everything's fine. Every champion released with this mechanic is functioning the same way. Nowhere it's noted that it's bugged. Players are cool with it. Players are used to it. Players eventually make rank up decisions based on partially on interactions such as this. And then one day, Kabam wakes up. I feel like fucking shit up. I feel like pissing off a lot of people. I feel like more chaos and rage is needed in the world. Let's screw with the player base, shall we? And just randomly decide to change things. So the next thing is like, how, like, if Kabam does the things the way they do right now, how are we supposed to know that anything works the way they are meant to work? And I was like, maybe Indestructible is not meant to stop all the damage. Maybe it's only meant to be hit damage, and now all the red numbers can bypass Indestructible. The fuck we know. If Kabam can change these interactions willy-nilly many years after they have been established to function one way, then effectively tells they can change whatever the fuck they want. Like, maybe, I don't know, bleed and poison will no longer count as direct damage. Maybe we're going to classify them as physical damage and have, you know, resistances reduce the amount of bleed and poison that you take, and therefore every bleed and poison champion is effectively gonna get worse. Why not? It'll be exactly the same thing here. It'll be exactly the same thing here, where for many years something's working one way, you wake up and it's getting to function every way. So I mean, like, I do tend to kind of like be more lenient with Kabam in recent couple of years for sure, and I don't like to use hyperbole, and I have tried to cut back on swearing and, you know, being overly agitated. But, you know, the more you break this type of down, the amount of hubris one has to have to behave the way the Kabam does, there's only one natural response that I have to a behavior like that, and that is fuck you. Fuck everybody who had anything to do with decision and execution of it. Because not only you did something extremely shitty, you did it in the scummiest way possible, and you're being completely silent about it. That is genuinely the way this comes down to. The change in interaction, nobody had any idea was meant to function somehow differently than it did all this time. And they did it completely on the down low. Fuck you. Cunt. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about